Welcome to the NerdCast, everyone. Mark Etheridge. I'm here with Kendall Rogers and Aaron Fitt, and we're going to go through the field of 64. We're going to over this next, 68 minutes of heaven. I guess we'll go through and figure out how we're going to pick the field. We're going to pick the top 8 seeds. We're going to do the host sites, and then we're going to go through all the leagues, pick automatic qualifiers and at-large bids. We'll probably agree on everything. There'll be no disagreement at all.
Right.
And and at the end of it, we'll have a field that we can share with the world. Hopefully we'll get it all right this week and have 64 teams and not 63 or 65. That's always preferred.
We may have messed up last week or 2 weeks ago. I guess I should start the show with a mea culpa here, Mark.
I'm checking this week. We're going to be fine.
We had one team on the worksheet twice. We did catch it before we put out the actual field of 64, but the NerdCast itself was wrong. So we added a team after the show. So sorry about that, friends. Thanks for bearing. Hey, it's our first show of the year. You know,
it's Aaron's fault.
It was spring training, right?
That's right.
So is there any difference up top? I mean, we can talk about it, I guess. I mean, Wake Forest is making a run at LSU. LSU, certainly, if you look on the field, got some pitching concerns after Friday. The key to their season is Floyd, because if they can get a number 2 starter who's consistent, oh boy. Because nobody's really got a third one. I mean, if you look at it, very few teams do. So he's the key, right?
Yeah, you're right. So, I mean, I like the fact that LSU is I think they're well up in the RPI from where they were even 2 weeks ago when we did this exercise.
Well, they played the number 1 RPI team.
That's right. They played Kentucky. LSU is now number 3. And I look at the remaining schedules, and LSU is now through the gauntlet, and they have a more favorable second half, I think, than the other SEC top contenders. I like sticking with LSU. Yeah, I like sticking with LSU.
So I wrote about this in the Dish. Quick plug.
Yeah.
You go back and read the weekend Dish. LSU has played one of the most challenging schedules to date. Okay, among its intra-conference strength of schedule. However. For this back 5, it's the easiest. It's the 14th strongest schedule, not just the contenders, but everybody. So they're not going to play a team with a current winning record the rest of the way. So LSU's a team that has not had a sweep, and you'd have to think with the way their offense can pound people without great pitching, they've got some opportunity ahead to get back into the SEC lead. And have a chance to win the league.
Hey, Mark, before we move on, can you tell the people where they can find the weekend Dish? Where do you find that?
Well, it's on this thing called SEC Extra, and it's something we started this year with Joe Healy and I, and we're going deep into the SEC, giving you all the extra coverage. You still have the cool coverage that D1's always done with SEC and other conferences, but if you need a little bit more, we're here for you.
And crushing it.
Where can fans get the Mark Etheridge calendar?
Well, I mean, it's still in progress right now.
We can make that a throw-in. Make that a throw-in for new subscribers next year.
So
we're all about creating incentive at D1Baseball.
That's right.
You can talk to me at the D1 Highway to Hoover podcast at Rockscat Brewery before the SEC tournament Monday, May 22nd. 7 o'clock. Get your tickets now before they're all gone.
Put that on your calendar, folks. It's going to be an awesome event. So LSU, Kendall, you good with LSU?
Good with LSU.
Wake Forest.
Yep.
Wake Forest at 2.
That's like they're like the easy number 2
so far.
Yeah. Look at us.
I feel pretty comfortable with Vanderbilt.
I do
Vanderbilt 14-4 against RPI top 50 right now. 8-2 against top 25. I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Impressivo. So here's a change. Now, 2 weeks ago, we had Virginia as our 4. And again, this is not like the top 25 rankings where you look at where a team was and, you kind of we're starting from scratch every time we do this exercise. So we will not have Virginia number 4 this week. Marcus, who are your candidates here? I think Arkansas has got to be in that mix, right?
Yeah, for me, it's Arkansas
Yeah.
with sweeping Tennessee when Tennessee really needed it, and really dominating the series. That's very impressive, and the metrics line up. I think Arkansas's got a chance to hold in this top group.
Concur.
Yeah, Arkansas 7-3 against RPI top 25. They're 13-5 against RPI top 50. Those are pretty strong marks.
And this is a program that historically, I feel like has had more RPI troubles than the other elite SEC contenders because of geography, and that's not the case right now. They're number 5, and so sitting pretty.
Very impressive.
Yeah. Number 5. Speaking of number 5, we had the Gators in this mix. We had South Carolina 2 weeks ago. I would say those two teams are still very much in the mix. It's funny. Somebody asked in the chat this week, is it realistic for the SEC to get 5 top 8 seeds? And I started to think about it, and I was like, you know what? Like, there's really only one right now that I think is a lock in the ACC. That's Wake Forest. There's none in the Big 12, and one kind of candidate, I think, in the pack, but not a lock. And so,
and then East Carolina.
And East Carolina, yeah, sure. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, East Carolina, I would say, right now has moved up into this mix.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the teams to consider here, Florida, South Carolina, East Carolina, and Stanford.
I would still go Florida, South Carolina in that order. I know it's 4 SEC teams in a row, but you can't just manufacture top 8 seeds. Like, that's not how this works. And so, if there is a Big 12 team or a Pac-12 team that's within striking distance, perhaps. But the problem you run into with like Stanford, for instance, is they're within striking distance at 13 in RPI. But I mean, if you go compare their resume to some of these other teams, it's not even close.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree.
I will say that I think I would probably argue for South Carolina over Florida.
I would too.
Yeah.
So let me jump in here a little bit on Florida. Their intra-conference strength of schedule, again, this is in the weekend dish, which is basically made up of your record against SEC opponents without the games that you played against them. So you're not helped or hurt by the games you played. 19-41.
Holy cow, really?
317 winning percentage for their five opponents. Okay. Well, that changes going forward because the last 5 series, 45-29. So that's a 608. So it gets much, much tougher for Florida. They haven't their best SEC win right now is Alabama, who's 6-9, right? So that's going to change. It changes this weekend. They go to South Carolina,
right?
But to this point, they've just they've been bad team bullies.
Yeah,
and they're really good at it. But do you reward that at this point? I know we're projecting, but I mean, South Carolina's probably done a little more.
Yeah, they have. I mean, for one thing, South Carolina is 2 in the RPI. Florida's 11. Yeah. For another thing, the fact that they play in Columbia. I mean, if we are projecting, I think I like South Carolina's chances at home there.
Yeah, especially with Brandon Neely on the shelf.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me started on that.
We had a lengthy discussion about that at the start of yesterday's pod. So,
well, I need to go back and listen to that because
it led off the show.
We talked about it on Highway to Hoover as well. Yeah.
Actually, I should say 10 minutes of inane banter led off the show, and then we got right into the first real topic was the Brandon Neely situation.
Yeah.
South Carolina 5. I think we're all good with that. Is Florida the next team, or the Pirates maybe here?
How do you feel about Virginia?
Virginia.
Yeah.
Virginia.
Are you dropping Virginia out?
No, you're right. You're right. That's omission on my part. They're definitely in this mix too. Would they be next for you? They have lost 2 series now, but nonetheless, they're 31-6.
Yeah, I think you kind of break up the SEC schools a little bit.
31-6 and number 6 in the RPI, and in solid enough shape in the ACC. 12-6.
7.
Yeah,
I mean, my next 2 are Florida and East Carolina, and
I like that. I'm good with that order.
Want to flip the order? I'm okay.
Looking at the metrics, I mean, I suppose I do like that.
Look at Florida's road record versus East Carolina's too.
Ooh, 8-1.
8-1 on the road.
How about that? Pirates though have 29 non-conference strength of schedule, which I mean, again, you need to have a strong non-conference if you're in the American. Florida 61, but overall strength of schedule, ECU 41, Florida 40. So that part's even. But the Gators do have, just despite the fact that we've called them bottom feeders here, their metrics against the good teams are a lot better. 6-3 top 25, East Carolina 2-0, and 13-5 top 50, East Carolina 5-3.
Yeah. And don't misunderstand the point. I mean, nobody in the SEC is bad. You're not beating up on bad teams, right? These are good wins. The worst RPI in the SEC right now is 50. Okay,
so which is why Florida has all those top 50 wins. Every team they played in the league is top 50.
Every game is right.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I like Florida.
And people can rail on the RPI, but can you find me 50 teams better than Ole Miss? I'll sit and wait.
Probably not. I mean, they are 3-12 in the league, aren't they?
Look who they're playing.
I know, but like,
who you play matters, man.
It does matter. Of course it matters, but 3-12 is still 3-12.
Put them in the American, see what their record would be.
They would be pretty good in the American. They'd be pretty good in the American. I would be fascinated. It would be fun, wouldn't it? I think they would be the number 2 team in the American because the ECU is still better.
Right.
Like clearly better. But yes, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think here you go. I think at the 9th spot, if we're projecting Stanford wins the Pac-12,
yes, I agree.
Then I would go Stanford
okay with that.
here.
Yeah.
So Florida 7, East Carolina 8, Stanford 9. What we got here?
Yep.
So some other teams that we had in the mix last time, obviously Oklahoma State and Boston College have dropped considerably.
Yeah.
I don't know that hosting. I don't think either one of them would be. Yeah, agreed. Not hosting right now. Kentucky we had as the 11. We had Texas.
I'm still in on Kentucky.
Yep.
Yeah, I actually liked them at the 10 spot.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they're number 1 in the RPI still, and I think they showed all of us something with whether they played in Baton Rouge, winning a game and almost taking the series.
And
I thought Saturday, after that first game, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say the third game Saturday was anybody's game. I mean, they could have very easily won that.
And hell, they're 13-3 against the top 25. I mean, like, it's by far the most top 25 wins. The next best that I see is LSU at 8 and Vanderbilt as well. But that's by the way, is heading into Tuesday's games as we record this podcast. I mean, you can certainly argue for them being higher. Like if the season ended today, they'd be way higher. But I think
tougher too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's what I worry about
with Florida. Yeah.
Yep. It's brutal. I looked at it. It's brutal. So that's why I think 10 is an appropriate spot because they do have a cushion now. They're in a good spot in the standings heading into this brutal stretch. They're 10-5 and they're number 1 in the RPI. So I like them a lot as a host. I think 10 feels right.
Okay. So then after that, it's more challenging, at least from my perspective. There's kind of a group of teams, and I can read them off for you. I mean, There's Oregon, there's Texas, or whoever Big 12 you want to pick. I picked Texas. There's Coastal, there's UConn, there's Louisville, who's on a surge here. I know the RPI is not great, but if you're projecting, I'm not betting against them right now. And there's also Miami out there. And what about Southern Miss, who's all of a sudden number 15 in the RPI?
Yeah.
I mean, they're at least in consideration now.
I think the winner of that Coastal Carolina Southern Miss series is in great shape to host.
They're in the driver's seat. I agree.
And that's this weekend. It's in Conway.
I think I like Coastal in that series.
I'm probably going to pick Southern Miss, but I haven't decided yet. But I will say that, just the fact that Coastal is currently higher in the RPI, it's just, and they're at home for that series. I think it is the logical pick, and I would probably put them here, or Texas, Yeah, I mean, Texas leads the Big 12. It might make sense to slot them in here.
Yeah, I mean, the only issue you run into with Texas.
Yeah,
I mean, the only issue you run into with Texas, they're 2-5 against top 25, and they're 4-7 against top 50.
Yeah, that's kind of ugly.
It's a league standings pick. Is what it is.
Yeah,
but maybe it should be lower. I mean, we've talked about how the Big 12 is a total mess.
Could be.
That would hurt them right now. I think the Big 12 being a big hodgepodge, I think hurts them with the committee.
Exactly, I agree. That's why I think the Big 12 probably gets a host, but it's
somebody. Yeah,
but it's probably. I mean, right now, it's looking like it might be a lower host.
Right, if they have a candidate. I mean, if number 34 TCU wins the league and there's nobody else in the mix, then no, they don't.
I mean, if 34 TCU wins the league and there's nobody else in the mix, I could see the committee reaching and putting the Big 12 champ as a host. because I mean, it's just hard to envision them getting completely shut out.
It just depends on who your other candidates are. Yeah. I mean, you could be, but I don't think they'd want to.
No, you're right. Yeah, they'd have to hold their nose for sure. I do like Coastal here at 11, number 10 in the RPI.
Let's roll with it.
Yeah. Oops.
Okay. So, how do you feel about Oregon?
I like Oregon. They just won that series against Stanford. 24-10 overall with a 14 RPI. Metrics are pretty solid. That the better top 50, more top 50 wins certainly than Stanford. I think Oregon makes sense here.
Yeah. Did I cut you off, Kendall? What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say either Oregon or Miami. Miami has the second best record in the ACC.
Yeah. Okay.
Do they? It's 10 they're 10-8. Virginia's 12 and 6.
Virginia's better than that. But...
Yeah, Virginia's 12 and 6.
I mean, third best. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Is it better than Louisville too? I guess it is.
So again, you're projecting because to me, Miami has the much better RPI, but who's going to finish better?
Yeah, well, that's the other thing is Miami is like kind of in that LSU boat where they've played the gauntlet now.
Yeah,
in the league.
Other than at Louisville, they have Georgia Tech at home, who's a hot mess right now. They get the Blue Hose. They're at Pitt, who's pesky, and then they get Duke, who's playing well right now, but they get them in Miami. I mean, they're going to probably finish pretty strong.
I think
they're going to host, guys. I don't know if they're 13, but they're going to host.
I would agree.
Yeah,
but I don't know that I see I mean, I guess we could slot Texas in here. Maybe that makes sense.
Okay.
Kendall?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I'd say Texas than Miami.
Yeah, I like it.
So my next team would be UConn.
Agreed. I was just going to say that. A quick discussion on UConn. They're 16 in the RPI, 26-9 overall. They're the best team in their league, obviously. And they've done what they needed to do in the non-conference with a 49 non-conference strength of schedule.
13-6 record on the road. The committee will love that.
Yep.
Right.
And again, that's what also keeps BC's case alive is 14-7 on the road. Is why that's one of the reasons why their RPI is so high. What's BC's conference record now? 9-9 and trending the wrong way. It's just I'm with you.
I'm no longer a believer. It was a cool story.
It was a cool story. I'm concerned. I'm not totally jumping off the bandwagon, but I'm concerned. I mean, it's not trending well. Yeah, that's fair. I don't blame you.
Yeah. So the other candidates.
Yeah.
And we have a few. We have one spot left. So we need to talk about these teams. Yeah. There's Louisville that we've already mentioned. There's Southern Miss, who we mentioned. There's potentially NC State with a number 8 RPI.
Oh yeah.
They could get there. There's Dallas Baptist, who has 17 RPI at this point. There's UCLA. They're 26, but that
rising.
You don't always have to have a top 16 RPI to host from the Pac-12.
Actually, I should say they're falling. They're down 13 spots in the RPI from last week, so that's the opposite of rising.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, they're losing that one game. UC Davis was a killer.
Yeah.
Should Indiana win the Big Ten, they would have a great case. I don't know that they will, but they're 20.
Indiana jumps out to me. Yeah, Indiana jumps out to me. And I think after today playing Louisville, they're up to 15 in the RPI. Did they win that game?
They won, yes.
Yeah.
So 15 right now.
Yeah.
4-7 against top 100 or top 50, losing road record, about 48 non-conference strength of schedule. That's the only thing about Indiana is if you look at their non-conference schedule, they got beat up on the week in a non-conference.
But they went to Texas and they went to Auburn.
Yeah, that's true. And they didn't get swept in either one.
Right. Those aren't easy wins,
especially for a northern team right out of the chute. I don't blame them. And they went to Keith LeClaire and played East Carolina and Long Beach out there, and Georgetown is having a good year actually. So yeah, I mean and Kentucky they played midweek. I mean Louisville we talked about, like they've played people. They scheduled great actually.
So I had Louisville and Indiana here. Of course, this was before they just played. So maybe we flip those. That would be interesting. And I don't know, Louisville might be a good 2 seed in Indiana.
I like, really. That'd be awesome, actually. I like Indiana here, but I will say that it's hard to walk away from DBU and NC State. I mean, I just wrote yesterday about how NC State is a team that, and I've talked about this 100 times now, so I'm sure a broken record, but absolutely a team to buy stock in. Played the gauntlet part of their schedule. Now it's really favorable. They've held their own at 8 and 9 in the league. Should be a few games better, they think, and I agree. But they're 8 and 9 with a number 8 RPI and a very favorable schedule. Like, I really believe this team is going to wind up hosting. However, we don't necessarily have a spot for them right now.
Yeah. Well, and certainly the committee owes them one after last year.
I would agree. So yeah, Indiana or NC State, and DBU again, like a team that I just really believe in. That is red hot, won a bunch of games in a row, 18 RPI, 12 and 3 in the league.
Yeah. So the reason you wouldn't take NC State right now would be what? 4 and 9 against top 25. But
6 and 11 top 50. And to this point, they've lost more series. In the league, they lost to Miami, they lost to Virginia, they lost to Boston College, lost to Wake Forest, but they did. They did win a series against Louisville, 2 out of 3, and then swept Florida State. But the better teams they've played, they've lost the series. Yeah. Except for Louisville.
I kind of like Indiana here, and here's why. Not only do they have the RPI to host, they went on the road a lot, obviously non-conference. But the other thing here, guys, is the Big Ten is the number 6 conference RPI. They're ahead of Conference USA.
How about that?
So, it would make logical sense for a team in a top 6 RPI conference that is right now is 9 and 3 in that league and has the RPI and is a Northern school. That they would get. They would be a 16th team.
I agree. I'm with you.
Do you agree with that, Mark?
Yeah, I think there would be an opportunity, especially if they win the Big Ten, which, who knows who's going to win it. I think Nebraska's in first place now, and so that's kind of odd. But it's if you win that conference, you're going to get some leeway, even if the RPI gets pulled down playing some of those games. You don't have to be 16. You could be 22.
Yeah. Well, so as we're projecting the rest of the season, we talked about how some of these other teams are kind of over the hump. They are too, to an extent. They step out of conference against Ohio this weekend. But they have Maryland at home in Bloomington in 2 weeks. They're at Northwestern, who's garbage. They have Purdue at home, and then they go to Michigan State, who, by the way, Jake Boss has done a nice job with that team. They're pretty good. They're solid. They play their toughest remaining series at home.
And they're 9 and 3 in the league, they had it. I love the position that they're in. And I love how they scheduled. I love that they went to Texas and Auburn and won a game, out of the chute, et cetera, et cetera. We already talked about it. I feel really good about it.
Okay. Yeah, and let's just go ahead and say it.
Let's do it.
If Louisville's a 2, they might as well just make the reservations for Bloomington.
It's only an hour drive. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. So our next few hosts after that would be, just outside the host line.
Yeah.
Southern Miss again, and if Southern Miss wins that series at Coastal, I think you flip those two. Southern Miss, NC State, Dallas Baptist for me are the next 3, and then Louisville, and UCLA. But you could argue the order on that. We don't have to argue the order because we're not seeding them. But
sure.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree. That's your top 20.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Oklahoma State. Where are they in the RPI now? They're down
34.
to 30. Yeah, 34. Jeez Louise.
34 hitting into the day. That's what my numbers are.
36 right at this current moment.
37 as of right now.
I'll have to refresh. What a tumble from 2 weeks ago. We had them as a number 7 national seed. Goodness gracious. All right.
And they're at Kansas this weekend. That's not going to be a cakewalk.
Yeah. That's another team that my confidence is shaken in.
Big 12.
What a weird schedule. So they're at Kansas and they go to Michigan for 3, and then they have East Tennessee State at home.
The Big 12 is a hot mess in more ways than one. Like the scheduling gaps are just
that's
so
ridiculous.
problematic. Yeah.
No continuity. All right, well, let's roll in the worksheet. The only 2 teams out, Oklahoma State and Boston College. For the sake of the exercise, though, let's see what Boston College has left the rest of the year. They're at North Carolina this weekend. They did beat UConn today, I believe.
Big win.
No, they play the UConn tomorrow. UConn lost to Northeastern today. They're at North Carolina this weekend. They have Clemson at home. They're at Wake, and they have Notre Dame. So they've got 2 really difficult road series left. So, yeah, I think I agree with Mark in the sense I don't know if I see them getting back in the mix.
But I will say that, yeah, they should be also on this list of just, the next group of teams out.
Sure.
Like they're in that same club.
They're in the group.
Yeah.
And it's not like it would be that surprising they took a series from North Carolina either.
Yeah.
Wake Forest, I will be a little surprised.
And maybe I'll throw another name just on for your consideration. I mean, Campbell, I think should be in the mix. They're 26 in the RPI right now, 13-2 in the league. Probably the RPI is not going to be sustainable, but I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you're at 26 right now as a team in that conference, I mean, your margin for error is pretty much 0 at this point.
But they do a great job with their in-state midweek schedules. And, I mean, that's where they make their hay. All right, part 2 of the show. We are at the 26-minute mark. Look at us, guys. We're just
fast, speedy.
We're such professionals.
We're gonna come in under that 68 minutes of heaven. I'm excited about this.
You just jinxed us.
I probably did. Yes.
We're gonna have like a 25-minute discussion on the Metro Atlantic.
That's inevitable.
It's been done.
All right. Starting going alphabetical order. Obviously, Maine just really made a statement going to Binghamton on the road.
The Fighting Gennaros went on the road to Binghamton. Nobody walks into Binghamton and pushes the Bearcats around, but they did.
Did you guys see the photos that Shotgun tweeted about their stadium?
No, it was awesome.
Oh, it's insane. Like they've got, whatever, $60 million. Yeah, Binghamton, like the $60 million facility or whatever that I think was like some anonymous donor, some very wealthy anonymous donor who likes baseball. I believe is the story behind that. But like, it's nuts. They got like one of the best mid-major facilities in the country. It's awesome.
I heard the wealthy donor
if someone wants.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, if someone wants to donate to the NerdCast $60 million anonymously, we can keep your secret.
We'll keep your secret.
Yeah.
All right. I know Kendall's going to make a joke, but we'll just move on here.
I was just going to say that I heard that it rhymes with Fitt.
Yeah. Well, that's not something you want to rhyme with necessarily. I feel bad for that guy. On to the American. This is a one bid league. It is the East Carolina Pirates. Yeah. Not a pretty scene. No other team inside the
American
top.
Was a good league.
Yeah, not that long ago.
Even Houston, I mean, like Houston's 7-3 in its last 10. They've actually played much better baseball, but they got off to such a slow start. They're 108 in the RPI, and that's the second best RPI in the league.
Yeah. East Carolina's number 9, and the next best team in the league is 108. I mean,
yikes.
A10. We had Davidson last time. I think it was kind of a toss-up pick there. So Davidson is 7-2. St. Louis is 8-1. Let's see. They played in May at Davidson. What that's worth.
Just keep it the way it is.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that. Okay. ACC. All right. So we've got, make sure I don't have any duplicates this time. Wake Forest, Virginia, Miami, already in as hosts, right? Is it the only 3 ACC hosts we have? I think so.
Yeah.
Boston College, Louisville, NC State, UNC, Virginia Tech, and Duke.
I would have Duke in, obviously.
Yeah, they're now up to 31 in the RPI, 9-8 in the league. Big series win at Boston College. Virginia Tech, I guess, would be the bubble team because they're 45 RPI, 8-9 in the league. But
4-7 against quad one, top 50.
Yeah, interesting. For some reason, I thought they were in better shape than this. They just lost to Radford tonight. I wonder how much that hurt them.
Yeah, they're I'm still seeing 45.
So they were 31 heading into tonight, and now they're down to 45. So that's a significant tumble. God, at the RPI, she's a fickle mistress. But I like them in, but we can highlight them if you want as a bubble. I think they're probably safe. How many is this?
Yeah, they're in.
That's 9 for the ACC.
Keep an eye on Notre Dame. Notre Dame's 8-10 in the league. They're 50 in the RPI. Obviously, as a northern school, they have some constraints that some other teams in this league don't deal with. So, I mean, they wouldn't be in, but keep an eye on them down the stretch.
And keep an eye on Clemson. You know, Clemson's lurking, loitering. 6-9 now in the league. They've won 2 straight series, I believe. 48 in the RPI. So, you know, they got work to do, and I don't like the remaining schedule for them. But
that is tough.
Yeah.
God.
Brutal.
Yeah, at NC State, at Boston College, Louisville, at Virginia Tech, North Carolina. Yeah, I don't think I like their chances.
No, don't like their chances. I just thought it's worth of even mention.
Yeah, for sure.
They're playing better. Yeah.
I mean, it's wild that we're having this discussion, and obviously Florida State is not even going to factor into it. It's just amazing that they're 4-14 in the league. But neither is Georgia Tech, 7-11 right now with a 77 RPI and just 20-16 overall, just not having a good year.
Mm-hmm.
All right, ASUN.
Okay.
FGCU still the pick here. Mm-hmm. They did stub their toe this weekend, but that probably hurts their at-large chances a lot because they're down to 62.
Wow.
Agreed.
Goodness.
Last week, so that let's see here. Curious. That's a drop of, I don't know. It's a big drop.
Yeah. Too much.
Anyway, one bid league is looking like, you know, as good as FGCU is, it's hard to imagine that RPI really climbing given the state of the other RPIs in the conference. I mean, Liberty has a respectable RPI at 66, but that's it. Nobody else in the top 100. And there's 14 teams in this league now, and they've added some I mean, bottom feeders from an RPI perspective with Queens and North Alabama and Bellarmine, you know, all new, relatively new to Division I, and that's really dragging down the league RPI.
Mm-hmm.
Big 12.
Yeah. I mean, you got Oklahoma State, TCU, Texas, West Virginia, or would definitely be in as of today.
Yes.
The team that's interesting is Texas Tech.
Yes.
Yeah.
The human polls love them, but I mean, they're RPI 63. They're 5-7 against top 50 RPI teams, and they're 6-6 in their league. Yeah. I mean, I like the remaining schedule. I mean, they've got Baylor at home. They just beat GCU tonight. They got Baylor at home, Kansas at home, Sam Houston State at home, and then at West Virginia at Kansas State. So I like their chances to bolster their conference record a little bit. But, I mean, the RPI is still an issue. So I think the biggest key for Tech is they need to finish like in the – let's say their RPI is like 56 or something. They just need to finish in like the top 4 of that league.
Yeah.
I think if they can finish top 4, they'll get in.
Yeah, it's a program pick. Honestly, you trust the program. You trust that they're going to finish strong and they're going to get in.
For what it's worth, you know, we occasionally refer to the RPI needs report at Boyd's World. They've got 18 games left with a 62 RPI, and Boyd's World estimates that they basically need to win 15 out of their last 18 to get to the top 45. So dire straits from an RPI perspective. It makes me nervous, guys, but it's a program pick. We have them ranked in the top 20. You know, it's like, and if you look at the actual schedule that they've played, again, I think we talked about this last time. I won't rail again about the RPI, but like, gosh, it's just tough. They scheduled pretty well. They scheduled some, you know, again, Iowa, Gonzaga. They did the Shriners. But they're just crushed by 4 games against Western Illinois. Western Illinois is 4-27. You play 4 games against Western Illinois and you're boned. You know, they go to Stanford for 2 games randomly. Like they do pretty well as they can given the geographic isolation. And you just get crushed by one weekend against a crap team. And I hate that. Next, it's Kansas State. I mean, their RPI is currently 85, but but 9-6 in the league. Just not happening because RPI.
Yeah, they would probably have to win the league.
Yeah.
They would win the regular season. Yeah. Even if their RPI is not good, they'd probably get in.
By the way, as we record this, not to leave the Big 12 for a moment, but Indiana State, after beating Vanderbilt, is now up to 13 in the RPI.
We'll get there. How about that? Indiana State. They could be. I mean, maybe we should probably put them on our list of hosted candidates.
Mm-hmm.
Or were they heading into the day?
They were 19.
Yeah.
19, yeah.
And I believe they have a committee member. I believe Sherrard is on the committee.
Oh, is he? Yeah.
Oh, they may be the number one overall.
They might be. I mean, again, like this is one where if you look at the actual teams they played, I mean, they're 1-5. Might as well just talk about Indiana State real quickly here. Or should we wait?
Yeah, we can wait till the Mo Valley.
Right,
yeah,
we'll wait.
We'll
Sorry,
get there.
I didn't mean to get us off track, but
okay,
that was interesting.
It was.
The Big East.
UConn.
Yeah.
And Xavier, Xavier. I think did we end up putting Xavier in last week? Was that the team we
did?
Yeah, we had him in. Yeah. Okay.
I'm a little concerned about them just because they're 6-12 against top 50.
It's a lot.
I just feel like as a bubble team, like a mid-major bubble team, you've got to have a lot of several high-end wins, and they just don't have that. I mean,
yeah. They played Kentucky tonight and lost.
Yeah, they don't have a lot of opportunities the rest of the year.
Yeah,
so this gives you an idea of what they're dealing with. So on the weekend, the rest of the year, they play RPI 264, 3 games, Villanova, Seton Hall 182, 3 games, Creighton 114 on the road, that won't hurt them, but St. John's 139 and then Georgetown 155. It's just hard to see that RPI staying in the top 50. It's difficult.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, we could put them in as a bubble for now. But
yeah,
that's one that feels vulnerable.
Team, but,
like realistically, I don't see the Big East getting two teams. I guess Xavier could go on a tear.
Yeah, I mean they would have to have a big feather in their cap. Like they played UCSB in a 3-game set. They would have needed to win like that or one of those non-conference series against a good team they played.
I mean they also they went to Oregon and got swept in 4 games, and it was a competitive series, but they still got swept. And now the thing they have going for them, the best thing on the resume is they went to Wofford, who's having another really good year, by the way. So, like quietly, they're 27-9. But and Xavier swept them in Spartanburg. So that's really the highlight of the resume. I mean, went to West Virginia and lost 2 out of 3. Like we're not going to give teams a ton of credit for scheduling tough and losing. You got to win some series. I mean, I give them some credit for it. Like if you don't get swept, you get some credit. But
yeah.
They're in the mix. For now, we'll keep them on the board. Big South. Obviously, it's the Camels and nobody else in the top 100. So moving on. That's definitely still in bid watch, though, if Camel doesn't win the auto bid. Big Ten, we've got Indiana in already. And then it's dicey with the RPIs, but we do have Iowa and Rutgers Rutgers is in Maryland. And I still,
Rutgers would be out for me. I mean, I think the thing about Rutgers is they got a 47 RPI, but 1-6 against top 50. I mean, one thing that killed them last year, and granted the field's different, the committee's different every year. But one thing that killed them last year was just not having much on the bone in non-conference, and they once again don't have a lot on the bone in non-conference.
The difference is last year this year. Yeah, last year they just didn't really play anybody. Even like this year, they've actually they've improved their schedule strength considerably non-conference. But just haven't won enough of those games. But I will say also that they started very poorly and then have rallied, and so I think that's in their favor. They went to Campbell to start the year and lost those series. They had got swept by UNCG on the road third weekend, and they were really in rough shape there. But since then, they've been very good. And then again, scheduled some nice mid-major programs. They went to Georgia Southern and swept them. They went to Kennesaw State for midweek and won. They went to Mercer. It's a nice little Georgia swing there. Took 2 out of 3 at Mercer. Mm-hmm. So
true.
I kind of like what they've done. But then
leave them on the board. It's just for me, it's going to come down to how they do in the league.
Right. And they lost the series to Michigan State and Maryland. Maryland's the tricky one. It's kind of like Texas Tech, where it's like I like this team a lot more than the RPI does. We know the committee likes the RPI a lot more than we do. So
I had them in.
Yeah,
I would have them ahead of Rutgers just because they have the head-to-head.
Yeah, the better.
They have series wins over Iowa, Rutgers, and then most recently Ohio State.
And that league's going to get more than one. So some of these teams are going to get in, maybe more than one.
Nebraska, by the way, despite being 7-2 in the league, is 109 in the RPI. And it's not like they got a bad record. They're 21-11, but yikes, that's just a non-starter. Indiana, Maryland, I would agree. Iowa, 57 RPI with a 4-5 record in the league. I mean, 22-10 overall.
Yeah. The two series losses were to Maryland and Indiana, though.
Yeah.
So the league record should improve.
Yeah, I think I still like Iowa in. We had all four of these teams in last time: Maryland, Indiana, Rutgers, Iowa. We can leave them all on the board for now, I'd say.
Okay.
But how would you stack up like Rutgers versus Xavier? I think I would have Rutgers ahead personally.
I would too.
I would too.
Definitely.
Okay. All right, Big West. We had Santa Barbara and Fullerton last time, and Long Beach needs to be in the discussion. And look out for the Matadors, guys. Look out for the Matadors. All of a sudden, they're 58 in the RPI. They're 8-4 in the league. They're 21-9 overall. Like, hey, like they got something cooking here.
Yep. Santa Barbara now, guys, is 3.5 games out of first place behind Fullerton.
They're still the best RPI in the league at 38, but lost the head-to-head to Fullerton. I mean, right now, I think it's safe to switch our automatic qualifier here to the Titans.
Yeah.
So make a note of that. Titans are 12-3. They're in first place. RPI is borderline, but it won't matter if they win the regular season because there's no conference tournament. So all they got to do is win the regular season. But RPI is still it's not a non-starter. It's 53. So if they don't win the regular season, the Tritons of UC San Diego trying to play spoiler there at
so you can
4.
Take them out of yellow if they're the automatic.
Yeah, good call. Is Santa Barbara yellow, or are they still safe?
I think they're in.
I think they're safe.
All right. And then Long Beach, I mentioned 9-6 in the league, 22-12 overall, 59 RPI, 4-3 top 50. It's starting to shape up as another sneaky little resume here.
You think they can get there?
Let's take a closer look. That's what this show's all about. They started the year with a nice series win against Wichita, who's fine. They went to the Keith LeClaire and actually went 3-0, beat Georgetown, East Carolina, and Indiana. That's a really big feather in their cap. And then mostly, Irvine, they took 2 out of 3 on the road at Irvine. They did lose 2 out of 3 just this past weekend at home to Northridge, so that could be a factor. But yeah, I don't think the remaining schedule is. They do have to play the Gauchos and the Titans in May, back-to-back weekends, one at home, one on the road. RPI, will it be sustainable? I don't know, but there's not that many real killers on here. I mean, they already played Riverside, who's the worst RPI team, 6-26. Riverside's the one killing everybody, but they swept them. And they're hanging in there. I don't know. I like Northridge and Long Beach on the worksheet in yellow as our bubble teams. I'm just looking at Northridge again to see what else they've done. 1 out of 3 at Santa Barbara. That's fine. 2 out of 3 at home against Creighton, who's basically a 500 team. And I actually like Long Beach's resume more.
I do too.
Except for the fact that Northridge won the head-to-head. But yeah, I would probably go Long Beach despite the head-to-head. I'd probably go Long Beach just barely a tick over Northridge just because I think the overall body of work is better.
Yeah, Eddie Corneo's done a really nice job there this year.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go to the Colonial.
Colonials remains very interesting, maybe even more interesting this time. Elon, despite losing that series to William and Mary, they're still in first place at 12-5. half game ahead of College of Charleston, whose RPI is improving, I believe, from where it was at the midseason mark. They're at 83, but still a lot of work to do, obviously, RPI-wise for Charleston. But Elon, I feel safely in, even right now, even if they don't win the automatic qualifier. We'll keep them as our automatic qualifier. Northeastern we had in last time as well. We had 2 teams in this league. Northeastern still in great shape, 10-5 in the league, 39 RPI. They are actually, like, those teams are clustered. They're just behind UNCW and Charleston, but that doesn't, that's fine. And then you've got, lurking. William and Mary is lurking at 64 RPI, 9-6 in the league. They're seems very competitive. And Charleston, as I mentioned, and UNCW 10-4 now, coming off a big series win at TCU. UNCW did make a nice leap in the RPI.
So something really interesting about UNCW, they're still like 70.
Yeah,
they're still 74 in the RPI. But here's what's really interesting: if you dig into Boyd's World's needs report, they actually still have a pathway to get in the top 16.
Is that right?
Yeah, like if they went undefeated the rest of the season, they would finish in the top 16. So will they do that? No. But what that tells you is that there's a pathway to get an at-large contention.
Yeah.
Like there is a pathway, like a much easier pathway for them to get to, let's say, 41 or 42, thereabouts. If you look at the remaining schedule, they play at North Carolina, which will be a great RPI game. They're at Campbell, which will be a great RPI game. And then they have Northeastern at home, and they at Charleston, which won't hurt their RPI. They still have Wake Forest on the schedule. So UNCW, like, I kind of feel like if you look at the remaining schedule, like, kind of controls their own destiny in the bubble discussion.
On the worksheet?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they'd be in this week, but
do you like them? Their path ahead more than Northeastern?
Let's see here.
I just think the fact that Northeastern is so starts at this thing with a significant RPI advantage, like 30 spots. 29-7 in the league. Northeast team, you get maybe a little bit, perhaps a boost for geography from the committee. It looks like also Northeastern has a similar RPI situation going forward. They have to go to UNCW, to William & Mary, and host Charleston. So those are all good RPI series.
Yeah, the CA could be a 3-bid league.
Yeah, the Northeastern UNCW series, I might sneak down there if those two teams keep this up in May. That's intriguing. I mean, we can put them on the board. It might be a little premature.
Yeah, I'd leave them off for now, but keep an eye on them.
Yep, definitely on the radar.
Their stock is rising.
Mark, while you stepped away, we had we put Long Beach and Northridge both on the worksheet in yellow.
Okay.
We'll revisit that. Okay, Conference USA.
UTSA, Dallas Baptist, two obvious ones. And keep an eye on Charlotte.
Yeah.
They're a team that we were high on coming in this season. They scuffled a little bit there, a few weeks ago. They've won, 7 out of the last 10. RPI's up to 54, 9-5 in the league. They're still 3-9 against top 50, which is problematic for a potential bubble team. But I don't know if I'd have them on the worksheet yet, but keep an eye on them. They're playing better.
They are. Yeah, they started really rough. And as you mentioned, 7 of the last 10, they're coming on. And this was, I think I did this league in the preseason. I picked Charlotte to win the league. I do really like their talent. I could definitely see them surging into the mix. I think that's it. I mean, as much as we like La Tech's team on paper heading into the year, 132 RPI, 20-18 overall. FAU is the other team that, had been kind of hovering, 68 RPI. 22-15 overall, 7-8 in the league. Not yet, but not dead either.
Right, I agree.
Okay, the Norse Athletic League. How about Northern Kentucky sitting atop the standings, guys? 11-4, a game ahead of Wright State. Obviously, we're going to go with Wright State. They've earned the benefit of that doubt, but wow. Kudos to Northern Kentucky. That's a neat story there. Have to pay more attention to that one. Unless you guys want to, hey, if you guys want to vote for the Norse, I'm listening.
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
Not yet. Ivy League, we had Columbia. They're a game behind Penn. Penn's 9-3. Columbia's 8-4. Looking for the head-to-head is the last weekend of the year. I'm Penn.
Still on Columbia here.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. They won a series at Alabama. They split 4 at UNCW. I mean, yeah, I like Columbia. Although Penn won that series at A&M, right?
2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago.
Was it really? Good grief!
Come on, Aaron.
It's all. Didn't
we crowned a champion?
Crowned a champion. Did A&M have a weird series loss early this year too?
Yeah,
Portland.
They needed a rally in the 9th inning, and I get swept.
Yeah.
I don't pay attention to the Aggies. That's your department. I'm not even going to bother. You can just tell me what's going on.
That's because you hate the SEC.
Yeah, obviously.
Supporting the South Carolina fans.
ACC guy in my bones. Shall we do it? Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that, Marcus. Guys, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the MAAC.
Yeah.
Never disappoints, does it?
Well done. Kendall.
What does the sound peacock make? Caw-caw! Oh.
That's a toucan.
What is happening?
Hey, I've got some owl calls I can break out. I mean,
ooh, do you?
Sorry, we're already past Conference USA.
Do you have a Bronco noise or a Bronc noise, perhaps?
Wow!
Wow! Man of many talents here. Well done, Kendall. Oh, Mark,
that wasn't as good.
Oh, that was all right.
Oh, Jesus!
I'm glad Fairfield's not in first place.
Hashtag getting loopy.
I'm glad Fairfield's not in first place because I doubt either of you has a stag impression. I don't think that's in the bench bar. You just have to prance around.
Not on video.
Not that's appropriate for you to watch.
Guys, we're sticking with Ryder. It was our pick 2 weeks ago.
Let's stick with Ryder.
Ryder, hey, 88 RPI. 24-11. I mean, 9-3. That was a great year. Let's get Shoddy on the Ryder train. Has he written about Ryder yet?
He did cover Ryder this year.
Oh, that's right. I thought he had. It all blurs together,
He's a Bronc homer.
Yes, he is. Home state team. Okay.
We got to change here, boys.
Yeah.
Mid-American.
Kent State, the fighting Jeff Duncan's sitting at 56 in the RPI, but they lead the league right now by 2 games. Well, they lead Ohio by a half game. They lead Ball State now by 2 games.
And I'm gonna say keep an eye up for them Chippewas boys. Here they come. They just swept Ball State. They already have a head-to-head series win against Kent State. Now they're 2 games back in the standings. It's gonna be one bid league, even though Kent State does have that 56 RPI. Like theoretically, if the season ended today, they would be on the board. But those RPIs in that league never hold up.
Yeah.
But anyway, watch out for the Chips. I mean, they're proven stock here in this league. But I'm with you, Kent State. Kudos to the Golden Flashes for the resurgence this year. They kind of needed a big bounce back year, and they're having it. So, all right, here we can talk about Indiana State. On to the Missouri Valley. This is a 1 bid league, and it's Indiana State. Although Southern Illinois again having a nice year. I mean, they're 10-2 with 81 RPI. It's just RPI is not there this year. But Indiana State 11-1 in conference. As you mentioned, their RPI is up to 13, 23-11, and 12 overall. And it's the thing about it is the reason that they're not, in my opinion, like a serious host candidate is because of the lack of quality wins. It's one of those deals where it's like I think 2-8 now against the top 50.
13 road wins.
Yeah, I mean
that's where the RPI is coming from.
Exactly, which is, I mean, that's not, you deserve extra credit for going on the road and winning. I think that's good, but they haven't beaten most of the good teams they've played. I mean, they did split 2 with Indiana, I believe, and Vanderbilt just today. So I'm gonna backpedal that comment a little bit. That's a big win. If they're gonna, if they can, looking for other opportunities here at Missouri late in the year. Yeah, Ball State. They just don't have a lot of other opportunities to pad the kind of top 50 record. I have a hard time seeing them getting in finishing in hosting position, but obviously having a great year and looking like a lock for that large team.
Mm-hmm.
On we go. Mountain West, we had Fresno State. As usual, this is a little bit of a jump.
San Jose, let's go.
San Jose.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's exactly right.
Brad Sanfilippo has done a terrific job. I was actually talking to a coach in that league the other day, and he said that what they've done at that program is pretty incredible.
And
given the resources.
Yeah, and I think this league's a good fit for them. I like them here. They seem like they fit in and they can compete and win this league. They did sweep UNLV this past weekend. The series went out in New Mexico. Yeah, I mean, they're the pick. So good for them. Spartans. Maybe I'm going to be at Stanford next week. I wonder if I could bounce over and see the Spartans. I don't think so.
They're actually playing at Texas in a few weeks.
Interesting. Maybe go see them. Go see them.
Yeah. Pity we don't have a staff member in Texas.
Yeah, it's a shame.
I know, right? Yeah.
We'll look for one.
Northeast Conference. Boy, oh boy. Central Connecticut. What a powerhouse.
The real Blue Devils.
The real Blue Devils. What a powerhouse. 21-7 overall. 16-2 in the league. It's a one bid league. They have a 107 RPI though, which is good for that league. Just keep on trucking. They're really, that program is been strong for some time now. Ohio Valley.
SEMO.
Correct.
SEMO.
10-2 in the league. They're in first place, game and a half ahead of Morehead State. Nobody in this league with really even that close to the top 100 in the RPI. SIU Edwardsville with the best RPI at 131. Pac-12 boys. So we already have Stanford, Oregon in.
UCLA is certainly in.
UCLA certainly in. Arizona State.
I would have Oregon State in and USC out. I think Oregon State's got to be in.
Oregon State's in.
Oregon State's in.
Yeah.
It's just what do you do with USC? The RPI is not great.
75 in the RPI now after getting
2-9 against RPI top 50.
Yeah, that's boy. I mean, amazing how quickly their fortunes have changed in just really the span of a week. Like they were the darling, they were a top 25 team just a week ago, and now we're talking about them not even being in the field.
Yeah, they still have UCLA this weekend at Washington, Oregon, Arizona State at Arizona. That's not an easy finish.
Not an easy finish. They do have that series win against Stanford on their resume. That's kind of propping it up. And, maybe they beat some of these other good teams on their schedule and they play their way back in. But I mean, should we keep them on and highlight it or should we just take them off, you think? 75
highlight
RPI.
them.
Okay.
Yeah.
As a potential 16. They would be the bottom team for me, though.
9-6 in the league is solid, but even after getting swept this weekend. But
I mean, I would have them in over some of these other teams. I would have them in over Xavier, CSUN.
They're playing Northridge as we speak, tied in the third inning. Big game. Yeah.
All right, Patriot
Army. League. Yeah, Army.
Yeah, Army's 11 game winning streak.
How about that? Just TCB and taking care of business.
The Southeastern Conference.
Yeah. Fledgling league.
Yeah. So let's start. I want to start with a team in particular here. The Tennessee Volunteers, boys. Tennessee tonight lost to the 275th RPI team in the country at home. Tennessee's RPI boys down 16 spots tonight to 39. That's problematic when you look at the remaining SEC schedule.
Holy guacamole.
Not good.
Yeah, Tennessee Tech.
Go ahead, Mark. It's all the mic is yours, buddy.
So you're going to have a group of teams. Right now they're similar. They're in that 6-9 to all the way down to Ole Miss, if you want to count them, in that group at the bottom of the conference right now. And they're all similar from an RPI perspective. None of them have done None of them have really flourished to give you a great resume. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens when you get to the end and you've got, say, 8 teams that are pretty solid, maybe it's 7, right? 7, 8 teams that are pretty solidly in. And then there's a big jumble mass of teams that are from 11 and 12, potentially maybe 13 wins in the conference. I think this year, because of how strong the league is viewed, 13 wins is going to get you in if your RPI is anywhere close. And right now, as we said earlier, the worst RPI is around 50. So I think the bar might be a little lower. And the reason I say that is, okay, last year you saw what Ole Miss did. I think there's going to be some residuals from that as a team that we had out of the field, ended up, going off and doing great things. Tennessee could be a similar type of club. Preseason darling, struggled, but they got to figure it out. And they've tried all these different things, shaking the lineup, shaking the rotation, and it's to this point it hasn't worked.
I mean, they're one of those teams, Mark. If they can just get in and kind of wash away some of this pressure.
See them.
Yeah, if you can get in, well, it's like I was telling somebody the other day, what's going to happen is they're going to get shipped to Wake or something as a 2 and win that regional.
At this point, they're a 3 or they're not in. I mean, they're really scuffling right now.
I would have them in still, but boy, they're declining.
I'm going to throw something at you, Mark.
Yeah.
Remember 2016?
Yeah.
I don't know if you do.
Maybe I can pull it up and look at it.
The SEC had 7 hosts, and guess how many regional teams they had?
Yeah, it was like 8.
It was 7.
Was it 7? Yeah.
7. And so I kind of feel like the league might be starting to shape up a little like that, whereas it just feels top heavy, and then all of a sudden, like, you got to start to wonder, maybe these teams at the bottom of the SEC aren't that great. Like we all think, oh, the SEC is so deep, like maybe they're not. And like if Vanderbilt, Florida, South Carolina, Kentucky, Arkansas, LSU gobble up all these wins, like maybe getting to 13 wins in the league doesn't do it for you anymore.
I disagree. I think that you're going to get credit for that because of how the league is viewed. Just like last year, Ole Miss didn't quote have the on paper resume, but they were the next team in succession, and it was a league pick. And I think that's going to happen this year, and it might even happen with an additional team.
I guess the other question is how many of these, like, is this one of those years where a bunch of teams at the top gobble up wins and you just don't have that many teams that get to 13 wins?
Maybe. And I think the other part of it is those teams at the bottom, they're going to beat each other up. So instead of somebody reaching 14 or 15, they're going to all be clustered.
Yeah.
At 11, 12, 13. And Hoover's going to matter for those teams, assuming they make it. Right. You could have a team with 11 wins miss out on Hoover, which is that doesn't happen a lot. So I think it's fascinating because everyone is going to play meaningful games down the stretch. But it's we started this with Tennessee, but you could really say this same conversation we're having could be about other teams as well. Right. I saw Mississippi State this weekend. I came away really impressed with how they're playing right now. 3 weeks ago, I would have said the exact opposite. I had no faith in them at all. They look good this weekend, guys. I think they can go on a run and get back in this thing and play meaningful baseball down the stretch. Will it be enough? I don't know. They've got a big hole to climb out of. But based on what I just talked about, I think maybe they get to 12 and then go to Hoover and win a game or two. I think they're going to get the benefit of the doubt based on how they finished. Talented team, right?
And all of a sudden, I mean, they got the same record in the conference as Tennessee, and a better
Absolutely.
RPI and a better RPI.
Right. Yeah. So it's, and we can have this conversation about Missouri, right? I mean, Missouri's 5-10 in the league. They've been pretty good at home. They've got a big series this weekend with Alabama. They win that series, and all of a sudden you view them differently. The other side of that, Alabama's a team. They really have to go to Missouri and win because they've got LSU and Vanderbilt the next 2 weeks and then A&M after that on the road. So it's time for them. They've got to beat Missouri and then they finish with Ole Miss at home. Those if those are the only two series, they only win 4 of those. 4 games in those 2 series. They're going to be sitting there at that 12 win where they seemingly are every year.
Yeah.
And then having to go on a run in Hoover, and then you have to be concerned about what happens across the country with stolen bids and all that. So
yeah. So I mean, I guess I don't know. So you've got these bubble teams.
Yeah.
I guess at this point, and I don't know what you want to call it, bubble teams is the right term or not, but these teams are all in the same bucket: Tennessee, Alabama, Auburn, also 5-10 by the way, 37 RPI. A&M, I guess, is above that group now. They were in the bubble heading in 2 weeks ago, but now they're not.
Yeah, they go to Kentucky and Arkansas the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, so they could be right back in this mix. Mississippi State and Missouri. So basically, I mean, everyone except Ole Miss and Georgia. And I know you think, I'm with you. Ole Miss is super talented in the lineup. Maybe they make a run still. Maybe it's not too late, but it sure feels like
their hole is really big, and they have not shown the consistency enough to win enough games.
It's getting late early. I'm not gonna call them dead though. We saw what happened last year, but it's getting late early.
Don't let the Rebs get hot.
Yeah. So I'm gonna move A&M for now into the safely in category. And we'll see what happens.
I think Auburn would be the bottom team for me on all these teams, probably.
Yeah, I think so too. 5-10 with a 37 RPI. I mean, it's basically the same resume as Tennessee, who's 5-10 with a 39 RPI. And Tennessee has that brutal schedule. How's Auburn's schedule look going forward? They got Mississippi State at home, at South Carolina, LSU at home, at Ole Miss versus
their only series winning conference is Georgia at home.
Yeah.
Whereas Tennessee did sweep A&M.
That's true. And Tennessee,
Auburn has the 11th strongest schedule out of the 14 going forward. Right.
Okay.
Left to play. So it's easier. They've got Ole Miss and Missouri left to play Mississippi State this weekend, which is huge.
Huge series for both teams. Boy, oh boy.
I mean, you can make a case, to your point, Aaron, that it's those top teams that everybody agrees. And then there's maybe 1 or 2 more. And if you want to say Tennessee, maybe Alabama because they're a game up, so they have a game advantage.
Yeah.
I think that's probably where I would lean. But the other ones, they're not out of it. I honestly think this could be a year you get to 12 and maybe win a game in Hoover and you get in.
Yeah, I like Alabama, and I think I still am going to stick with Tennessee based on I got to figure at some point the pitching is going to.
Yeah.
The talent is just too great in that rotation. Like surely it's got to matter at some point. Like it's they got to go on a run, don't they?
And they got bullpen guys too. I mean, there's depth. They're just not it's not performing, and their offense is not carrying. Where some of the other teams, their offense is able to carry you if you have a bad day on the mound. They just haven't been able to.
So if we add Alabama and Tennessee, that gets us to 9 SEC teams. Pecking order for the next 3 for me would probably be Mississippi State.
I would, yeah.
Auburn,
they would
Missouri.
be the 10th team for me.
Yeah.
It would be Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi State, Auburn, Missouri.
I think I agree with that. Yeah, based on Auburn's more favorable remaining schedule, I'd have them over Missouri.
Yeah, and then Georgia, Ole Miss would round it out.
Yeah.
We're thinking Mississippi State wins the road series at Auburn this weekend.
I kind of do.
They're playing better. Yeah.
Auburn's 3-7.
Has anybody seen Mississippi State's remaining schedule?
Yeah, it's tough. It's
at
really
Auburn,
tough.
at Tennessee, Arkansas, at LSU, A&M.
Yeah, it's tough.
But if they're playing up to their actual potential, like they can, hey, for one thing, like they might be better than Tennessee right now.
Yeah.
And just the way these two teams are playing at this moment, like they might be better. They could go to Knoxville and win that series. I mean, they could.
What's really the difference for me with them is Aaron Dixon at the end of the game. Now they've got Heian Dom, and they've got 2 dudes where a lot of people don't have anybody.
You're right.
And I think that matters late because they're always in close games.
Yeah.
And Smith's back to lead off the weekend.
Huge.
And Sanja was the best he's been this weekend. We'll see what happens. But he was really good Sunday. Sunday. Really
exciting.
good.
It's exciting development. That guy's super talented, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's for now take Auburn and Missouri off the board just based on that
there's no room. Yeah.
And we'll leave Mississippi State on for now. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. That's 10 SEC. So all right, let's move on to the SoCon. And Wofford was our pick last time. I still like it. Again, 27-9 overall, 6-3 in the league. They're actually a game behind Samford, who they play at home. Is it this weekend? I think it is this weekend. Yes, it is.
Big one.
Yeah, that is a big one, especially if Wofford is once again on that kind of bubble line here, 49 RPI with a gaudy record. Like if they win the league and they can get that RPI into the low 40s, they'll be the exact same, or maybe high 30s, the exact same position as they were last year. Maybe one of these years they get the nod, or they could just win the auto bid. But boy, they're in the mix for an at-large again. On to the Southland.
This will be a change. Southeastern Louisiana is now last place in the league.
Yeah, that's what we had.
I would just say Incarnate Word.
Yeah, that's who I picked.
First place. First place team.
Oof.
Yeah, that's how about the Lions struggling?
Yeah, LSU just lost to the Raging Cajuns, by the way.
Spicy. SWAC. We had Alabama State, and I think that's still the pick. They're I guess they're tied for first place with the Rattlers, who are they're both 12-3, but Alabama State 24-13 overall. Florida A&M is 18-18. I mean, I still like the Hornets here.
Yep.
Okay.
Summit League.
How are you?
Yeah. Undefeated. It's like the Summit League of old, back when it was the Mid-Con. Oral Roberts 12-0, 4.5 games up on North Dakota State. So, Oral Roberts having a great year. That'd be a good mid-major team to spotlight here. Sun Belt.
Certainly Coastal and Southern Miss.
Yep.
Troy.
Right.
Are they on the bubble?
Yeah, based on RPI. 32 RPI. They're above 500 in the league at 8-7, 26-12 overall.
They would be behind Texas State for me. So Texas State beat UTSA tonight. They jumped like 7 spots to 57 in the RPI. They've actually played 12 games against top 50 teams. Troy's played 4 total.
Big game this weekend, or big series this weekend, Texas State at Troy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is big.
Really big series.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Texas State would be in for you, Kendall, or at least on the bubble?
They would be on the bubble.
Old Minion coming out, I assume. On the bubble still, maybe. Still on the bubble.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I like Texas State over them. Texas State's 6-6, top 50. Old Dominion 2-6. The other thing about ODU too is, like, if you look at their non-conference schedule, it was garbage.
That's why we didn't rank them when they were racking up all those wins, and now
whereas like Texas State, went on the road to Arizona, or went on the road to Green Canyon. They played Oral Roberts, who has a high winning percentage. They played Southern Miss was a conference game, but
guess what?
What?
Look at their non-conference strength of schedule, though.
Who, Texas State?
Both of them. Compare the two. Old Dominion, or at least this morning, was 81. Texas State's 194.
I mean, again, it's because, you play a few bottom feeders and it just skews everything. Whereas you play like the mediocre teams and you get rewarded.
Northwestern's probably killing them.
Yeah. Just anyway. I understand your point, and you're absolutely correct, but that's what the numbers say.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's why we look at the high ends of the resumes, even though we probably shouldn't, because the committee doesn't look at it the same way we do. Apparently. I mean, they do. They look at top 25, top 50 wins.
Yeah, well, it's part of it,
right?
It's not looked at in a vacuum.
Is there Are there any more teams from this league? I mean, Louisiana now is I don't know where they are in the RPI after tonight.
They were 75 heading into the day.
There's 64
obviously
now.
a road win at LSU is
64.
going to help.
64 now, so
it's still out, but climbing.
Yeah, I mean, are they really that far off from Texas State? I mean, they're only 7 spots behind Texas State in the RPI now. They're ahead of Texas State in the standings.
98 non-conference truth of schedule, so better non-conference truth of schedule. Yeah, I mean, they're kind of right there.
I think they're on the board.
Yeah.
Would they be ahead? I think I have them ahead of ODU. I think I would.
Am I remembering right that Troy went down there and won a series
at
Louisiana?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
last week, I think.
Troy.
Yeah, last week.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, this is again kind of a jumbled mess after the first two. You've got 4 candidates: Texas State, Louisiana, Troy, Old Dominion, all very bubbly or wrong side of the bubble. But they all
Troy's non-conference strength of schedule is 40.
Yeah, I like what Troy did on conference.
All right, we can go back and talk about those teams.
I mean, what is there? Can we do a pecking order on them just to make it easier?
Sure.
Texas State, I guess we have as the first team out of those 4.
I would say so, but
okay.
I mean, I think they're the best team out of that group.
Yeah. Louisiana, oh boy. I mean,
I'd probably lean Troy.
Yeah, if you're comparing Louisiana to Troy, I mean, Troy's head-to-head in a 30-something spot RPI advantage.
Louisiana as well.
Yeah. Good point.
And a better non-conference strength of schedule.
I mean, should Troy be ahead of Texas State? They're only 1 game behind them in the standings.
Well, they play this weekend, right? So it's who do you pick?
It's at Troy.
I would take Troy probably at home. I would go Troy, Texas State, Louisiana, ODU.
Okay. I like it.
All right.
West Coast Conference.
LMU.
Yeah, how about that? 12 and 3
games, 3 full games. And my man Diego Barrera is just dominating people on Friday nights for them.
And they this weekend they really showed me something because I kept saying, watch out for Gonzaga. Watch out for Gonzaga. I know their record is bad overall, but they're coming on. And LMU just took them 2 out of 3. So hats off to the Lions. And that's it. And it's going to be a 1 bid league regardless. LMU has the best RPI with 82. And so, they're not going to have an at-large team in that league.
Right.
All right. And finally, the WAC. We had Sam Houston, and that remains the pick. 14 and 4. 3 games ahead of second place Grand Canyon. Again, 1 bid league. Best RPI here is Abilene Christian at 81. They're in 3rd place. Sam and GCU are both just inside the top 100. So it's going to be a 1 bid league. So that gets us to 70 candidates. Shouldn't be too hard to trim some of these. I think we can probably do a couple of quick ones here. Xavier, I think we all already had as a team that probably will not be sustainable.
Yeah.
Rutgers, probably. I'll take that as a yes. Well, maybe not. Yeah. Maybe not.
Yeah. CSUN and Long Beach.
Yeah,
both of them for me can probably come out the door.
Are below for me. Yeah,
I agree. But certainly teams that have played their way into this mix for sure. And then we need 2 more. Sun Belt didn't get in 6 teams where we got.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah,
I think I would take off Louisiana and Old Dominion, and I would keep USC.
Yeah, I think so too.
I would keep them in for another week.
I would keep USC in too.
Compared to some of these teams, I agree.
Yep. So we got Mississippi State in then as a 10th team.
I'm comfortable with that.
That'll help us sell some subscriptions. We're all in it for the ratings, guys.
Yeah, we're so biased.
Yeah. That's it. Texas Tech also in with that mid-60s RPI we talked about. Iowa in. Alabama, Tennessee, Mississippi State all bubble in. and then Troy and Texas State are bubble in. So there you have it. We have 4 Sun Belt teams, 10 SEC, 6 Pac-12, 2 Conference USA, 2 CAA, 2 Big West, 3 Big 10, 5 Big 12, and is that 9 in the ACC? Yeah, 9 in the ACC. So those are your multi-bid leagues. I guess we can wrap it up. We wound up getting past 68 minutes of heaven. I'm so disappointed.
Goodness.
Gosh, I thought we were going to do it. I'm going to break the land speed record. We're up to 80 minutes of heaven. What a night. Mark, what do you got for us? What final thoughts?
Well, yeah, I mean, for me, it's what's going to happen at the bottom of some of these leagues. The ACC, the SEC, the Sun Belt, where teams are Big Ten, even maybe not the bottom, but the bottom of the bubble. All these teams are bunched together. There's so much to play for. It's fascinating, and we're projecting and probably not doing a very good job of it because we've seen how unpredictable this season's been. So it's for me, it's one of these things where you're going to look at RPI, you're going to look at non-conference strength of schedule, you're going to look at marquee wins, and also you wonder how much the eye test comes into this. Who do you think would win if these two teams played, right? And again, after last year, and I've made this point earlier, after what Ole Miss did, it was a lot of the eye test and conference strength that benefited them last year. So will that play a factor this year? New committee, we'll see. But that to me is something to watch for as we head down the stretch.
Kendall?
Yeah, I just think the biggest thing for me is just, how some of these postseason bid races shake out. We talked about the Big Ten earlier and just the fluidity in that conference with, Rutgers and Iowa, Maryland, Michigan State's a team that could certainly, get in the mix for a bubble spot down the stretch. We just talked about the Sun Belt. I mean, that was kind of a huge log jam. And then at the bottom of the SEC, like right now we have Mississippi State in. 2 weeks ago, you would have thought we were crazy had we had Mississippi State in. So, does Mississippi State continue to ascend, or does a team like Auburn get hot? Does Tennessee suddenly get hot? That'll be really interesting for me. Even the next week, like that picture could look totally different.
Yeah, the logjam leagues right now are fascinating. The SEC, the reason we spent so much time talking about the SEC, it's not to sell subs. It's because it's a freaking mess. Yeah. Like it's just like it's a jumbly craziness down there. But the SEC and the Sun Belt in particular, I mean, feel like real logjam situations where it's hard to find clarity, and you've got a lot of candidates they're not going to get as many spots as they have current candidates. And so, and to a lesser degree, I guess, like the Big West has 4 candidates that are, which we didn't see coming, but 4 candidates, and how many can they actually get in? So I'm fascinated to see that too. These leagues where it looks like we've got more teams than we're going to have spots for, most likely. How does those wind up shaking out? Who separates themselves? How many they wind up getting? Lots of storylines to follow here. And of course, we've got you covered at D1Baseball. We're into the time of year where we are going to NerdCast weekly the rest of the way. So that's always fun. We enjoy this exercise every week. I will have the first postseason stock report of the season to kind of accompany this package. That probably will come Thursday. And so you got that to look forward to. And of course, Marcus, the Nerd Master General himself. Nobody breaks down the numbers when it comes to this stuff better than Mark. I know you'll have your usual analysis, and check out Weekend Dish at SEC Extra. Lots of great stuff there. That's going to do it for this week's NerdCast. Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks to our friends at S2 Cognition for sponsoring all of our podcasts this year. Love those guys. What a great partner. And thanks for listening, everyone. We'll do it again.